everyone thought Stranger Things ended cleanly. The gate closed, the music faded, the screen went black, and Netflix wanted you to believe, that's it, the end. But here's the strange part. When a story truly ends, it feels finished. Your heart feels full. Your questions feel answered. This ending didn't feel like that at all. Instead, something felt off. Scenes rushed by too fast. Big moments happened without explanation. Characters you loved barely got time to react. And some of the most important questions were never answered. That's why so many fans walked away confused instead of satisfied. You didn't imagine it, because what Netflix didn't tell you is this: the Stranger Things ending was changed. Quietly, quickly, and at the last minute. There were storylines that were supposed to matter, but suddenly didn't. There were emotional moments that should have been huge, but felt empty. And there was one decision that made the ending feel wrong, even if you couldn't explain why. Think about it. Why did certain characters barely speak? Why did major dangers feel rushed instead of scary? Why did the final moments feel more like a pause than a goodbye? It wasn't because the writers forgot how to tell a story, and it wasn't because the show ran out of ideas. It was because important pieces were removed, hidden, or pushed aside, pieces that would have changed how everything felt. This wasn't just an ending, it was a shortcut, and once you see what was left out, you can't unsee it. In this video, we're going to break down what Netflix didn't explain, what scenes were rushed, and the one big mistake that made Stranger Things 5 feel wrong, even though it was supposed to feel perfect. Stay with me, because the truth behind this ending is more surprising than the monsters themselves. When Stranger Things reached its final moments, something strange happened, not on the screen, but inside the audience. People didn't cheer. They didn't cry the way you do when a story truly ends. They didn't sit back and say, wow, that was perfect. Instead, they stared at the screen, quiet, confused, unsure. And that feeling matters, because when a story is told the right way, your brain knows it's over, even before the credits roll. The danger is gone, the heroes have changed, the world feels different. You may feel sad, but you feel complete. That didn't happen here. Instead, the ending felt rushed, light, and strangely empty, like someone skipped a few pages of the book and hoped you wouldn't notice. Let's talk about why. Big stories need big goodbyes. For years, Stranger Things taught us something very important. Nothing comes easy. When someone got hurt, it mattered. When someone was scared, we felt it. When danger showed up, it stayed long enough to make us afraid. Earlier seasons spent time on emotions. Friends talked, families cried. Moments were slow so they could feel real. But the ending didn't slow down. Huge events happened fast, too fast. Moments that should have lasted minutes were gone in seconds. Think of it like this. Imagine building a giant Lego castle for hours, and then knocking it over and rebuilding it in 30 seconds. Technically, you're done, but it doesn't feel done. That's what happened here. Where did the fear go? One of the reasons people loved Stranger Things was the fear. Not just monsters, not just shadows, but the kind of fear where you don't know what's coming next. Earlier seasons made you wait. They showed empty hallways, flickering lights, quiet moments before something awful happened. The ending skipped that. The danger felt close, but not heavy. Scary things happened, but didn't stay scary long enough. It felt like the show was in a hurry to finish, instead of letting the fear grow. And fear is important, because fear makes victories feel earned. The characters didn't get enough time. Now let's talk about the people we followed for years. These weren't just characters, they were kids who grew up on screen. They were friends who saved each other again and again. In a proper ending, characters reflect. They talk about what they lost. They talk about what they survived. They show us how they've changed. But in the ending, many characters barely spoke. Some stood in the background. Some reacted quickly, then moved on. Some felt like they were there just to be there. That doesn't mean the characters were bad. It means the ending didn't make room for them. It chose speed over feeling. The world didn't feel changed enough. Here's another important rule of storytelling. If a big battle happens, the world should look different afterward. Earlier seasons understood this. After danger, Hawkins felt quiet, empty, different. But the ending tried to say everything is over while showing a world that looked almost the same. That creates a problem. Your eyes see one thing, the story tells you another. And when those don't match, your brain feels uneasy, even if you can't explain why. Wyatt felt like a pause, not a finish. The final moments didn't feel like a door closing. They felt like a door left slightly open, not in a mysterious way, in an unfinished way. Like the show was saying, "Trust us, it's done," without proving it. That's not how great endings work. Great endings show you they're done. They don't rush past emotions. They don't skip consequences. They don't hide important moments off screen. And that's why so many people felt something was missing, even kids, even casual viewers. They didn't know what was wrong, they just knew it didn't feel right. And this is just the beginning, because here's the truth. What you felt wasn't an accident. It wasn't because you expected too much. It wasn't because the story was too big. It was because important parts were shortened, softened, or quietly removed. And in the next part, we're going to look at why that happened and how rushing the story changed everything. Because once you understand what was cut and why the ending was sped up, you'll realize the ending didn't fail. It was never allowed to fully exist. Now that we understand why the ending felt wrong, it's time to look at exactly what went wrong. Because the problem wasn't one single scene. It wasn't one bad choice. It was something bigger. Too many important storylines were rushed or quietly pushed aside. And when that happens, even a great story can feel empty. Too many big ideas, not enough time. By the final season, Stranger Things was carrying a lot of weight. There were monsters, there were powers, there were friendships, there were secrets from the past, there was the fate of the entire town, and possibly the world. That's a lot. In earlier seasons, the show handled this by slowing down. It picked one big danger and focused on it. But in the ending, the show tried to finish everything at once. And when you try to finish too much too fast, something always breaks. This time, it was the story. Important questions were never fully answered. A good ending answers the questions the story spent years asking, but the ending of Stranger Things left too many questions hanging in the air. Questions like, how exactly did the Upside Down begin? Why were certain characters connected to it more than others? What rules actually controlled the powers and the monsters? The show hinted at answers, but didn't stop long enough to explain them. It's like being told, "I'll explain later," and later never comes. For younger viewers, this creates confusion. For older viewers, it creates frustration. And for everyone else, it creates that strange feeling that something important was skipped. Some characters lost their purpose. One of the biggest problems was how certain characters were treated near the end. Earlier in the series, every main character had a job to do. One was the thinker, one was the brave one was the heart of the group. Everyone mattered. But in the ending, many characters barely spoke. Some stood in the background. Some reacted quickly, then moved on. Some felt like they were there just to be there. That doesn't mean the characters were bad. It means the ending didn't make room for them. It chose speed over feeling. The world didn't feel changed enough. Here's another important rule of storytelling. If a big battle happens, the world should look different afterward. Earlier seasons understood this. After danger, Hawkins felt quiet, empty, different. But the ending tried to say everything is over while showing a world that looked almost the same. That creates a problem. Your eyes see one thing, the story tells you another, and when those don't match, your brain feels uneasy, even if you can't explain why. Why it felt like a pause, not a finish. The final moments didn't feel like a door closing, they felt like a door left slightly open, not in a mysterious way, in an unfinished way. Like the show was saying, "Trust us, it's done," without proving it. That's not how great endings work. Great endings show you they're done. They don't rush past emotions. They don't skip consequences. They don't hide important moments off screen. And that's why so many people felt something was missing, even kids, even casual viewers. They didn't know what was wrong, they just knew it didn't feel right. And this is just the beginning, because here's the truth.
Something huge would happen, and seconds later, the story moved on. No pause, no reflection, no time to feel. That's like being told to cry, laugh, and cheer all at the same time. Your heart can't keep up. The villain problem. Every great story needs a strong villain, not just someone scary, but someone understandable. Earlier seasons slowly showed us how the danger worked, what it wanted, why it existed. But near the end, the villain became more like a checklist item. Show up, threaten the world, lose. That made the danger feel smaller, even though it was supposed to be the biggest threat ever. When a villain loses too fast, the victory feels lighter, and a light victory doesn't feel like the end of a long journey. Why this felt like a shortcut. Here's the most important idea in this part. The ending didn't feel wrong because it was bad. It felt wrong because it was compressed, like squeezing a long story into a short box. Moments that needed space didn't get it. Explanations that needed clarity were rushed. Characters that needed closure were pushed aside. And when you remove those things, the story still works, but it doesn't land. It doesn't stick in your heart the way it should. The silence after the credits. After the episode ended, something strange happened. People didn't rush online to celebrate. They didn't argue loudly about their favorite moments. Instead, many just said one thing. Something felt missing. That's not because viewers are picky. It's because the story trained them to expect more care at the end. And when that care wasn't there, they noticed. And here's the most important clue. This rushed feeling wasn't random. It points to something behind the scenes. Decisions made quickly, scenes shortened, storylines trimmed to fit time limits, budgets, or schedules. In S, we're going to look at that hidden side of the ending, the choices you never saw, and the moments that may have existed but never reached the screen. Because once you see what could have been there, you'll understand why the ending didn't feel complete, even though it tried to be. Now we reach the part most people never think about. What if the ending didn't feel wrong because of what we saw, but because of what we didn't see? Because stories don't only change on screen, they change behind the screen first. And this ending shows clear signs of that. Stories are planned until they aren't. Big shows don't just happen, they are planned years ahead. Writers map out character paths, they plan emotional moments, they decide how everything ends. But sometimes plans change, not because the story needs it, but because real-world problems get in the way. Time limits, money limits, scheduling problems, too many scenes, not enough space. And when that happens, something dangerous occurs. The story gets trimmed. Cutting a story is like cutting a puzzle. Imagine building a giant puzzle. You spend hours putting it together. You almost finish it, then someone says, "We don't have time. Remove a few pieces." You still see the picture, but some parts don't connect anymore. That's exactly what the ending felt like. We saw the shape of the story, but the connections were missing. Why scenes felt too short? One of the biggest clues is pacing. Important moments flew by. Big reactions happened quickly. Emotional scenes ended too soon. Danger arrived and disappeared. That usually means scenes were shortened, not rewritten from scratch, not redesigned, just cut down. Seconds removed here, lines removed there, enough to change how everything feels. Why explanations were avoided? you may have noticed something else. Instead of explaining big ideas clearly, the ending hinted at them. It showed visuals, it used quick lines, it moved on fast. Why? Because explaining takes time, and time was the one thing the ending didn't have. So instead of stopping to explain how things worked, the story said, just accept it and keep going. That works in the middle of a season, it does not work in a final episode. The emotional cost of cutting scenes. Now let's talk about the most painful part. When scenes are cut, emotions disappear first. Action scenes stay, big moments stay, but quiet moments, those are the first to go. Conversations, reactions, goodbyes. And those are the moments that make endings feel real. Without them, the ending becomes a list of events instead of a journey. Why characters felt quiet. Remember how some characters barely spoke? That's another clue. Dialogue-heavy scenes are often the easiest to cut. They don't look exciting, they don't add action, but they add meaning. When those scenes disappear, characters feel silent, not because they have nothing to say, but because their words were removed. The pressure of ending a huge show. There's also fear involved. Fear of disappointing fans, fear of choosing the wrong ending, fear of making people angry. So instead of making one bold choice, the ending tried to please everyone. It stayed safe, it avoided clear answers, it softened consequences. But safe endings rarely feel strong. They feel careful, and careful is not what this story was built on. Why this ending feels different from earlier seasons. Earlier seasons took risks. They slowed down, they let things hurt, they didn't rush past pain. But the ending felt like it was rushing toward the finish line, not because the story wanted to end, but because it had to. The biggest clue of all. Here's the most important sign something was cut. The ending doesn't feel final. It feels like the story stopped instead of ended. Great endings close doors. This one left doors half open, not for mystery, not for imagination, but because something was missing. What this means for you as a viewer. You didn't miss anything. You didn't misunderstand. Your brain noticed the gaps. Even kids feel it, because humans understand stories naturally, and when a story skips steps, we feel uneasy, even if we don't know why. Coming next, the one decision that changed everything. In S, we're going to talk about the single biggest choice that shaped this ending more than anything else. The choice that explains why the ending felt soft, why consequences felt small, why the final moment didn't hit as hard as it should have. And once you understand that choice, you'll finally understand why Stranger Things didn't end the way it began. Everything we've talked about so far leads to this. All the rushing, all the missing emotions, all the unanswered questions. They all point to one final decision that changed how the ending felt. And that decision was this. The ending chose comfort over consequence. Why consequences matter in stories. Let's start with something simple. In real life, when something big happens, life changes. If you fall and get hurt, you limp for a while. If you lose something important, it hurts for a long time. If you survive something scary, you are not the same person afterward. Stories work the same way. Great endings show us how events change people and the world. But the ending of Stranger Things avoided showing real, lasting consequences. And that choice made everything feel lighter than it should have. Big danger, small aftermath. Think about how huge the danger was. The world was at risk. The town was torn apart. The characters faced their greatest fear. But after it was over, life felt almost normal again. Too normal. People smiled quickly. The world didn't look broken enough. The emotional weight disappeared fast. It felt like the story said everything is fine now before earning that feeling. And that's where the problem starts. Why the ending played safe. Ending a beloved show is scary. If you hurt the audience too much, they get angry. If you make a bold choice, people argue. If you go too dark, some fans walk away sad. So the safest option is comfort. No heavy losses, no hard truths, no clear answers that might upset people. But safe endings don't feel powerful. They feel careful, and careful is not what this story was built on. Why this ending feels different from earlier seasons. Earlier seasons took risks. They slowed down. They let things hurt. They didn't rush past pain. But the ending felt like it was rushing toward the finish line, not because the story wanted to end, but because it had to. The biggest clue of all. Here's the most important sign something was cut. The ending doesn't feel final. It feels like the story stopped instead of ended. Great endings close doors. This one left doors half open, not for mystery, not for imagination, but because something was missing. What this means for you as a viewer: you didn't miss anything. You didn't misunderstand. Your brain noticed the gaps. Even kids feel it, because humans understand stories naturally, and when a story skips steps, we feel uneasy, even if we don't know why. Coming next, the one decision that changed everything. In S, we're going to talk about the single biggest choice that shaped this ending more than anything else. The choice that explains why the ending felt soft, why consequences felt small, why the final moment didn't hit as hard as it should have. And once you understand that choice, you'll finally understand why Stranger Things didn't end the way it began. Everything we've talked about so far leads to this: all the rushing, all the missing emotions, all the unanswered questions. They all point to one final decision that changed how the ending felt. And that decision was this: the ending chose comfort over consequence. Why consequences matter in stories? Let's start with something simple. In real life, when something big happens, life changes. If you fall and get hurt, you limp for a while. If you lose something important, it hurts for a long time. If you survive something scary, you are not the same person afterward. Stories work the same.
Hope can be powerful, but there's a difference between hope and avoidance. Hope says things were hard, but we survived. Avoidance says, let's not talk about how hard it really was. The ending leaned toward avoidance, and that made the victory feel smaller. Why the final moment didn't hit hard enough? The very last moments should leave you breathless. They should make you sit still after the credits roll. But this ending felt quiet in the wrong way. Not peaceful, not emotional, just unfinished, like the story was afraid to say goodbye properly. The truth Netflix didn't say out loud. Netflix didn't say this directly, but the ending shows it clearly. They wanted everyone to leave feeling okay, not broken, not heartbroken, not questioning too much. But Stranger Things became famous because it didn't play it safe. It scared us, it hurt us, it surprised us, and by choosing comfort at the end, it became something different. Why this doesn't mean the show failed. Here's the important part. This doesn't mean Stranger Things was bad. It doesn't mean the journey wasn't worth it. It means the ending was careful when it should have been brave. The story deserved more time, more honesty, more consequences. The ending wasn't wrong, it was restricted. The ending didn't fail because of bad writing. It felt wrong because it wasn't allowed to be fully itself. It was rushed, it was softened, it was trimmed to feel safe. And that's why your heart noticed something missing. Final thought. You weren't expecting perfection, you were expecting truth. And when a story avoids the truth at the very end, it doesn't feel like a goodbye, it feels like silence. That's why the ending felt wrong, not because it ended, but because it didn't end honestly. Now that we've reached the end of this story, there's one last thing we need to talk about. Not monsters, not powers, not Netflix. You. Because the reason this ending still matters isn't about what happened on screen, it's about how it made you feel. You felt something was missing, and you were right. When the credits rolled, your brain didn't say, "That was amazing." It said, "Wait, is that really it?" That feeling wasn't confusion, it wasn't disappointment, it was instinct. Your mind knew the story skipped steps. Your heart knew emotions were rushed. Your memory knew the show once took its time and didn't this time. And when millions of people feel the same strange emptiness, it means the story didn't fully land. Why endings matter more than beginnings. Beginnings are exciting, middle parts are fun, but endings are remembered. They decide how we talk about a story years later. They decide whether we rewatch it. They decide whether it lives in our hearts or fades away. Stranger Things gave us years of memories. Friends riding bikes, lights blinking on walls, music playing during scary moments, kids saving each other when no one else would. Those moments were real. That's why the ending mattered so much. The ending didn't break the story. It revealed its limits placed on it. Time limits, fear of upsetting fans, pressure to finish cleanly. Instead of letting the story breathe, it was pushed forward. And that's not how this story was built. This show became great by slowing down, by letting fear grow and emotions hurt. The ending forgot that lesson. Why it still hurts, in a quiet way. You may not feel angry, you may not even feel sad, but you feel something softer, a quiet disappointment, like saying goodbye to a friend who left too quickly. You don't hate them, you just wish they stayed a little longer, and that means the story still has power. Here's the surprising part. If you're still thinking about the ending, if you're still questioning it, if you're still watching videos like this one, that means the story still matters. Bad stories are forgotten fast. This one wasn't. It stayed with you because it meant something. What you can do now. Stories don't belong only to the people who make them, they belong to the people who feel them. And your thoughts matter. So now I want to hear from you. Answer these questions in the comments honestly. Did the ending feel complete to you, or did it feel rushed? Which moment felt the most unfinished? Do you think the story chose comfort over truth? And here's the biggest question of all. Do you believe the ending was meant to feel final, or was it quietly holding back? There is no wrong answer, but there are honest ones. If this video made you think, if it helped you understand what you were feeling, if it gave words to something you couldn't explain, then do 3 things. Like this video so others who felt the same way can find it. Subscribe if you care about stories and how they really work. Share with someone who also said something felt off. Because stories don't end when the screen goes black. They end when we stop talking about them. And this one, we're not done talking about it yet.